All right. Okay, it looks like I'm hopefully live. This is Kristen Carpenter reporting in for Verde's weekly live show on YouTube. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm hopeful that I am actually on. It looks like I'm on. All right. First and foremost, a little introduction. My name is Kristen Carpenter, and I'm the CEO and founder of Verde Brand Communications. I'm also the host of the Channel Mastery podcast. Check us out at verdepr.com and channelmastery.com. And if you're curious to learn more about our immersive digital training, the Multi-Channel Marketing Academy, we're relaunching that in September. Go to channelmastery.com/course. All right. Today is Wednesday, not Monday. I'm supposed to be live on Mondays, and the reason that I have not hit my mark has to do with a couple of things. Number one, last Monday, August 3rd, I had learned of the just tragic loss of a dear, dear friend of mine, Mark Sakowitz. On Saturday, I wanted to acknowledge Mark. He was a mentor to me and just an absolute dear friend who I already greatly miss, as does my entire team at Verde and so many within the outdoor and cycling communities. I just did not have it in me to go live that day. So forgive me, but at the same time, I wanted to make sure and acknowledge Mark because he has been just a total pillar of strength for me since I've been working closely with him over the past, gosh, I guess it's almost 3 years now with Steamboat Gravel. 2.5, 3 years. Either way, Mark, we miss you so much already. Just want to say that. And then this Monday, the 10th of August, I actually was installing my son, Tobin Ogden, into his dorm room at MSU up in Bozeman. Oh, that was quite an experience. And I went up there with my daughter. We pulled our Taxa Outdoors cricket trailer and camped up there with the poor freshman Tobin for a good 10 days because he got, basically, we had found a place for him to live for July. It's very difficult to find rentals in Bozeman. And so I drove up there with my daughter, Isabella, and we camped up there with Tobin so that he had a place to live and wouldn't be homeless before he started his freshman year. And we put him into the dorm Monday and hit the road. So wasn't able to do that. Today's Wednesday. We got home late last night, and here I am. Here I am, everyone. I have a great show for you today. It's going to be quick, as I always promise. So let me go ahead and pull up my notes here. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is only our second episode, so I'm going to just let everyone know that our goal with this weekly show is to give you trends and headlines and track those. We're going to start having guests join us pretty soon, which I'm super excited about. Some of them have been podcast guests and some of them are brand new guests, but they are going to help us bring illumination to our 3 points that we're always going to hit in the weekly show, trends and headlines in consumer behavior, in the media, and in channels, marketing, retail, etc. So we want to make sure that we're providing an up-to-date report every week because things are changing so quickly right now, and our specialty brand and business leaders comprising the Channel Mastery and Verde audiences need an update every week. They've told us this, and they obviously get the podcast, but we produce those in advance. So we wanted to make sure we started to do something live. Okay, somehow here we are in the second week of August 2020 and the 6th month of COVID. So we are 6 months into a pandemic. Does that mean we have master's degrees in managing businesses during the pandemic? More so than we did back in March, that's for sure. But as many of you are experiencing, you're going into a brand new selling season. You're starting to plan for the upcoming year. We have a lot of content planned for that with the launch of our Multi-Channel Marketing Academy. Budgeting is a big part of what everybody's grappling with right now. So we will be addressing some great trainings around that for multi-channel marketers and brand leaders. But ultimately, we are still kind of churning through the great unknown and pivoting and iterating and doing all the things that all the things that we need to as leaders in our businesses, all the overused cliches, right? I'm only kind of kidding with that one. When Verde worked with Keen Footwear a couple years ago, Rory first, we had the great honor of working with the founder sometimes himself, but he had some great one-liners. Anybody who's worked with Rory probably knows this about him. Incredible guy, great family company. But he once told me, we're flying a plane while we're trying to build a new one. As they were going through their 2.5 is what they call it. They were basically recasting their avatar and directing their business down to a younger demographic. And it's been very successful for them. We loved being along for part of that ride. But in the case of COVID in 2020 in general, I'm going to go ahead and update that a little bit. It feels more like we're trying to course correct the plane we're flying right now constantly while we're building a new one that there are no specifications for. That's what we're doing. And that's why some of us are tired right now, right? Everything feels unpredictable. And I'm really hoping that our live show will give you a little bit of levity, but some great direction every week and just some moral support, right? We all need that right now, and especially in our specialty markets. Okay, so this week I'm talking about bikes, Amazon, social media during a pandemic, and a McKinsey report that's going to make you fall out of your chair too, because I literally did fall out of my chair when I read this one. And we'll start with bike. All right. So Modern Retail is a great digital publication that covers the evolution of retail, mostly on the broad scene. They do a lot of tech reporting in terms of tech evolution in retail. It's a relatively new title, but I really, really like it. Their content is great. And it was great to see one of our specialty markets featured today in Modern Retail. Today is Wednesday, the 12th of August. The article was titled, "Completely Exhausted. Despite sales boom, bicycle retailers are still struggling." And of course, I perked right up when I saw that this morning. And then I read the article and saw Ray Keener was the main resource quoted in there, along with, I think it's the president of Primal Apparel. Great guy. So Ray Keener, a longtime leader in the cycling community and the current executive director of the Bicycle Parts Suppliers Association, was heavily quoted in this piece. And know that all of the links to the articles that I cite in the Verde Weekly Live show will be in the description below this video. So the article in Modern Retail leads with the astounding NPD Group statistic, citing year-over-year sales in bike being up 70%. Okay, this is unprecedented. I can't even describe 70%. And to have that happen with no planning possible. That's why we are feeling like we're basically sitting underneath a semi truck while we're trying to do business in bike right now. The article I thought was interesting because it cites that the bulk of the new cyclists are comprised of people choosing to use bikes over public transport, which is very true, but they didn't mention that people are also using their bikes for exercise, wellness, their kids getting outside and whatnot. Ray actually did bring that up at the end of the article about kids, but ultimately, I thought it didn't really paint like the complete picture of all the newcomers in bike, but it's still a really cool piece. It's awesome to see Ray in there. And it's also neat to see just how a magazine like Modern Retail would approach this topic. Because ultimately it's the dichotomy of like, wow, there's this boom, but then it's hard to really create like profit and make hay while the sun's shining, as they say, because people working in the shops are exhausted right now. Ray calls that a true limiting factor. But throughout it all, the entire bicycle community is excited and inspired about all of the newcomers coming into the sport. And we are definitely getting a lot of our fair share of press. I mean, we've seen articles in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal. Just some fantastic press has happened through the pandemic around the growth of cycling. So it's been very exciting to see. However, we have also seen an update that was less than awesome in e-bikes. So yes, COVID has also brought a boom to the e-bike market as well. I wasn't probably the only person who felt a little bit nauseated when I started to see Cowellgate spread all over the news media over the past week or so. So Simon Cowell, the TV host, crashed his e-bike and broke his back in multiple places. And from where I sit today, looking back on the news cycle around this, it appears that clickbait and fake news definitely snuck into the news feed once again on this one. Very, very disheartening to see. Terrible timing, right at a time when we're trying to build trust with consumers, readers, viewers. They need to trust the media right now. So While it's very easy to go the way of clickbait, it's definitely not the right thing to do for a sustainable business model in media, which is something that we talk about in this week's Channel Mastery podcast, episode number 142. Doug Schnitzpon interviewed me for the Weekly Chat, which is Outdoor Retailer's weekly podcast. And we go very much in depth into the state of media and consumer trust with it. I invite you to check that out at channelmastery.com. Again, the link will be in the description for this show. But trusting media is absolutely huge right now because of the consumer decision journey that happens online. And it is all happening online right now. It still is because of COVID. So seeing media outlets, big media outlets, using clickbait right now to try and capture traffic around news headlines is akin to watching like a terrible channel strategy by a great brand. Ultimately, if a consumer finds something that isn't in line or in alignment with what they see the ethical stance of a magazine to be, i.e. fake news, in any way, shape, or form, you're going to lose them for a long time, if not forever. Loyalty is very, very hard to build back. So keep that in mind as you're considering clickbait. It's akin to putting your brand on sale all the time if you're selling product. But I have to give a shout out to Cycling Tips for covering this in, I thought, a very stand-up way. Contributing writer Ian Treloar is one of my absolute favorite writers. Of course, Marshall Opal will also be always be my favorite writer on Cycling Tips because he's amazing. But Ian is also great. He has such a great sense of humor, and he's a fantastic writer. And he wrote an article on this Cowellgate that you definitely should read, and the links again will be in the description for this show. But he reports that Cowell was, Cycling Tips in Ian's article reports that Cowell was riding a motorcycle, really more than an e-bike. He cited a report from Forbes in his article. Carlton Reed is a journalist at Forbes, and he wrote, media reports have wrongly stated that British music mogul Simon Cowell broke his back in the courtyard of his Malibu home, falling from an electric bike. Reed writes, in fact, he was riding an electric motorbike with a top speed of 60 miles an hour. If I'm not mistaken, I think top speed around the e-bike I have is 20, I think, to even fall in the insurance category I can get for it. But I might even be a little bit high on that. Forbes reports that the bike Cowell crashed was a Cab Recon, which features a 20 kilowatt motor, 20,000 watts, as opposed to the standard 250. So yeah, that's a little bit different than an e-bike. It is hands down the most powerful production electric bicycle on the market. So I guess it still like classifies as that. But if you look at Cycling Tips and Ian's article, cyclingtips.com, you'll see what he's on. It's definitely not like I'm going to the store on my e-cargo bike. No. Anyways, I have to read a little bit more because it's just so well written. While the forensic details of Cowell's crash are kind of insignificant in the scheme of things, seeing that the guy's back is painfully broken either way, there are interesting lessons to be learned from the media response to this crash, Trainer writes. Rather than highlighting that Cowell should maybe not have popped a massive wheelie on a motorbike in his courtyard of his Malibu mansion, most news outlets have instead leapt into the mire of highlighting perils of e-bikes in general, even though he wasn't really riding one in the first place. This is what I'm talking about. Exactly what people shouldn't be doing. Big media outlets such as ABC News. Their analysis of Cowellgate claims that the incident renews e-bike safety concerns. The story includes a picture of a Dutch-style town bike, so innocent, and adds quotes from a spokesman from a bike company producing cute little folding bikes with tiny motors that in no way resemble the $8,500 monster that got the better of Cowell. I love how this guy writes. The article was also very helpful in noting that e-bikes have a motor and often have more power than a normal bike. I digress, but you have to check out that article. Ian does a great job at cyclingtips.com, and the link is in the show description. All right, real quick, we're going to go to an article from VentureBeat. Amazon reports $88.9 billion in Q2 2020 revenue. Wow, that number is almost like thinking about the edge of the universe to me, but that is a huge number. And essentially, North American sales were up 43% to $55.4 billion, while international sales grew 38% to $22.7 billion during COVID. The company does not want to be seen as benefiting from the pandemic. $5.2 billion in quarterly profit is the largest ever in its 26-year history. Okay, so here are some of the highlights to that I think are important for us to know because they tie right into consumer behavior, and that is what we are here to monitor and obsess over as we're continually making our channel strategies better for our target consumer. So, second quarter of 2020, Amazon increased grocery delivery capacity by over 160%, tripling grocery pickup locations in the quarter, to support customers during COVID-19. Subscription services were up 29% to $6.02 billion. And let's see, Amazon's other category, which is Amazon Marketing Services, largely up 41% to $4.22 billion in revenue. We will have another segment on a very soon-to-be future episode of the Verde Weekly Live Show on Amazon, Facebook, and Google and the digital advertising space. So know that that's being prepared for you right now, okay? But let's just think about this for a second. It's nothing short of fascinating that the numbers for Amazon earnings were that high. I mean, of course, they're going to be very high if people were stuck in their homes in Q2. I'm curious to see what's going to happen going forward, just knowing that like Prime delivery was so much, was hampered, frankly, like they couldn't keep up with demand, and also Fulfilled by Amazon was largely just a flyover country for 40 days during that time. I mean, you can check out episode number 140 of the Channel Mastery podcast. So 2 shows ago, I interviewed David Howell, who is a marketplace expert on the Amazon marketplace, and he talked a lot about how important it is to diversify your channels, both with content, but of course with product. Right now, a lot of people got caught around this FBA issue that happened over the 40-day period of time when you couldn't get anybody at Amazon to respond to you, let alone get product in there. So it'll be curious. I'm curious to see what happens with consumer sentiment around Amazon. Because Prime was not able to really fire on all cylinders, obviously during COVID, or just non-Prime, frankly, like it definitely was compromised, and I'm sure trust was affected by that. And there will be other marketplaces such as Walmart stepping in to try and see what they can recover from that. We covered that in the first episode of the weekly show 2 weeks ago, Monday, so you can check out that one. On the topic of social media, I thought that this was very important. Sprout Social Index was published. I wanted to just give a quick 3 to 4 bullet highlights on this. 50% of consumers increased their social media usage in the last 6 months during COVID, and Pew Research found 7 in 10 Americans are now using social media. That's pretty huge. 89% of consumers will buy from a brand that they follow on social, with 84% saying they'll choose that brand over a competitor. That is very important for us channel masters to look at. And then 75% of consumers increase their spending with that brand when they're engaged on social media. Finally, consumers are on social media to learn about new products and services. That's 57%. To stay up to date on company news, 47%. To learn about promotions and discounts, 40%, and to be entertained, 40%. So all of that is really important, and all of that at this time, August of 2020, as you're reconfiguring your plan, possibly to get to the end of the year, but also for 2021, reconsider your social strategy. Take this to heart. The link to the Sprout Social Index report will be in the description for this, and we're planning on doing more shows on Channel Mastery about the evolution of social media and how important it is to tie together nurturing, discovery, etc., across multiple channel multiple channel strategies for both product and content for specialty brands. It really is a changing game out there right now. Just last week, Instagram announced Reels to take on TikTok, and I got to spend a good 15 hours in the car with my daughter, who loves TikTok. She's 14, almost 15, yesterday and Monday, all about just the devout, loyal following that TikTok has. It's very powerful and very interesting and very important as we see things shift and evolve, especially through the election and everything that's happening with Microsoft or Apple potentially buying TikTok, etc. Again, next week's show, we'll have more on that. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to say for you is definitely the most impactful. We definitely know you have to be living in a cave with multiple blankets and other things piled on top of you to not know this, but we are now seeing a huge boom in e-commerce, and McKinsey and Company has been tracking businesses and consumer trends since the beginning of COVID-19. We've been covering them pretty regularly on our consumer behavior reports for Verde and also Channel Mastery and also the Snow Sports Industries Association of America, SIA, snowsports.org. We do a consumer report for them. And McKinsey recently published a piece about the accelerated pace at which consumer behavior and business trends have taken off as a result of COVID-19. And I'm laughing because I cannot believe what I'm about to tell you here. If you haven't seen this report, there has been a 10-year growth cycle, or like what we expected to see in 10 years in terms of where will we be with e-commerce. In 10 years, we'll be here, okay? Well, that has happened in 3 months, the last 3 months of COVID-19, okay? This has been an insane hockey stick moment, and we will have a link to the McKinsey report also in the show description as you're sitting down to plan the rest of your year in 2020 or your first quarter or whatever you're planning on doing in 2021. I know everybody's in a different place there. Please keep in mind that e-commerce is not going anywhere, and it is very important to make that your focal and primary channel with very ingenious, on-brand, specialty content and nurture sequences and everything across the channels that are most important to your consumer, driving people to the opportunity to buy online if they wish to, and hopefully go into stores again soon on a regular basis. But just know that the move to e-com, the cash register moving online, that is not going anywhere. And people want convenience. They want things to happen super fast. They want selection. They just are used to this now, okay? They've had a long time to have these behaviors established, and this is not going anywhere. Going hand in hand with that, we've seen quite a shock to brand loyalty, which we've been reporting on regularly in Channel Mastery at SAA, snowsports.org. But ultimately, 75% of US consumers have tried different stores, websites, or brands during COVID. And 60% of these consumers expect to integrate the new brands and stores into their post-COVID lives. That is especially true when they align with the causes of the brand or retailer, meaning the social impact that those brands are able to make. That attracts that customer and ingrains them emotionally even more. So that study is also in the description. And that was Retail Touchpoints 2020 Consumer Loyalty Benchmark Report. All right, I think you've had enough numbers from me for today, for this week. I just can't emphasize enough with all of this week's headlines how important it is to be able to make quick moves in your business. And that's why I said maybe it's planning to the end of the year, which is what we're doing at Verde right now. A lot of our clients are recasting their plan just to get them to the end of 2020. Obviously, we have budgeting and we have holiday, we have Cyber Monday, Black Friday, we have so many things on the horizon. But just know everything that we learned in the first 6 months of COVID in terms of becoming hyper agile in our businesses is not going anywhere. So it's great that we've had this opportunity to learn how to do this on the fly, to fail forward as we all are, but we will never go back to being able to plan and not have to jockey our businesses on so many levels the way we are right now. So if you're feeling tired, you're not alone, and just know we are incredibly resilient, amazing human beings, and we are going to be able to rise to the occasion, learn these behaviors, create new habits, and we're truly going to be learning so much together through the Channel Mastery ecosystem of content. This weekly live show is a Verde live show, but Verde and Channel Mastery are like peanut butter and jelly. They go together, as does the Multi-Channel Marketing Academy. All right, with that, I'm signing off for now, and I will be back on, I believe, Monday or Wednesday of next week. I say either one because I might be in Steamboat for the Steamboat virtual ride that's happening on Sunday. And I may be reporting from the Tax Outdoor Cricket Overland Trailer. Stay tuned for that, or I'll be in the studio Wednesday, but I'll be back on either Monday or Wednesday of next week. Thanks so much, everybody. I hope you have a great week.